Hey YouTube, this is one knowing Damian Moody. I also go by Cashmere Majesty, or sometimes I go by Red Riding Hood, just spelled differently, not to be confused with Little Red Riding Hood. But that's beside the point. Um, Today is June 7th. It is currently 2025, and I don't remember hearing this story before, and I've been hearing a lot of different stories, but for some reason, I don't think I've heard this story before. If I did, I don't remember. But I want to take the time today to share a story with you guys and girls and whoever else watch my channel. And this is the story of James Byrd Jr. If you want to know what he looks like, he is the thumbnail photo for this video. That is him. And his picture is right there. James Byrd Jr., May 2nd, 1949 to June 7th, 1998, was an African American man who was murdered by three men, two of whom are avowed white supremacists in Jasper, Texas, on June 7, 1998. Sean Barry, Lawrence Brewer, and John King dragged him for 3 miles, 5 kilometers, behind a Ford pickup truck along an road. Asphalt. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And y'all know I stay pronouncing something wrong. My bad, y'all. Um, Bird, who remained conscious for much of his ordeal, was killed about halfway through the dragging when his body hit the edge of a culvert, severing his right arm and head. The murderers drove for another 2.5 miles, 2.5 kilometers, before dumping his torso in front of a black cemetery. Brewer and King were the first white men to be sentenced to death for killing a black person in the history of modern Texas. In 2001, Bird's lynching by dragging led the state of Texas to pass a hate crimes law, which later led the United States Congress to pass the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act in 2009. Brewer was executed by lethal injection for his part in the murder on September 21st, 2011. King was executed by lethal injection in a state penitentiary in Huntsville, Texas on April 24th, 2019. Barry was sentenced to life imprisonment and will be eligible for parole in 2038. So, he was born May 2nd, 1949 in Beaumont, Texas. Died June 7th, 1998 at the age of 49 in Jasper, Texas. His cause of death is murder by dragging. His resting place is Jasper City Cemetery. His occupation was a vacuum salesman, and he has 3 children. And this is a little close up of what he looks like for those who may not have heard this story. And also that same picture is on the thumbnail of this video. James Byrd Jr. was born on May 2nd, 1949 in Beaumont, Texas, the third of 9 children, Stella Mae Sharp and James Byrd Sr. His mother was a Sunday school teacher. His father was a deacon at the Greater New Bethel Church. Byrd graduated from Jasper Row High School in 1967, the last segregated class. After graduating from high school, he married and had 3 children, Renee, Ross, and Jamie. Between 1969 and 1996, Byrd was incarcerated several times for various offenses, including theft, forgery, and violation of parole. He worked as a vacuum salesman. Byrd was a cousin of Danetta Lyles King, who was Rodney King's first wife and mother to his daughter Laura King. Ross Byrd, the only son of Byrd, has been involved in murder victims' family. What has been involved with murder victims' families for reconciliation, an organization that opposes capital punishment. He campaigned to spare the lives of those who murdered his father and appeared briefly in the documentary Deadline. On June 7, 1998, Byrd, age 49, I'm sorry, accepted from Sean Barry, who was age 23 at the time, Lawrence Brewer, age 31, and John King, age 23. Barry, who was driving, was acquainted with Byrd from around town. Instead of taking Byrd home, the 3 men took Byrd to a remote county road out of town, beating him severely, then chained him by his ankles to their pickup truck before dragging him for about 3 miles, 5 kilometers, on Huff Creek Road, County Road 278. Brewer later claimed that Byrd's throat had been slashed by Barry before he was dragged. However, forensic evidence suggests that Byrd had been attempting to keep his head up while being dragged, and the autopsy suggested that Byrd was alive during much of the dragging. Byrd died about halfway along the road of his dragging when his right arm and head were severe as his body hit a culvert, while almost all of Byrd's ribs were fractured. His brain and skull were found intact, further suggesting that he maintained consciousness while he was being dragged. Barry, Brewer, and King dumped the mutilated remains of Byrd's body in front of an African American cemetery on Huff Creek Road, then drove off to a barbecue. A motorist found Byrd's decapitated remains the following morning. Along the area where Byrd was dragged, police found a wrench with Barry written on it. They also found a lighter that was inscribed with Possum, which was King's prison nickname. The police found 81 places that included portions of Byrd's remains. Since Brewer and King were well known white supremacists, it was determined by state law enforcement officials that the murder was a hate crime. They called upon the Federal Bureau of Investigation less than 24 hours after the discovery of Byrd's remains. A special agent in charge of the FBI Houston office said that they were assisting because of the case's extreme circumstances. Barry, Brewer, and King were tried and convicted for Byrd's murder. Brewer and King received the death penalty, while Berry was sentenced to life in prison. Brewer was executed by lethal injection on September 21st, 2011, and King was executed on April 24th, 2019. Mm-mm-mm. Before I carry on with the story, I actually found out about this story through Instagram. Um, Damn, Aaron Pierre only 31. I thought he was older than me. Sorry, y'all. I don't know if y'all heard that. I'm trying to find. All right, so I'm gonna finish reading, but now that I'm looking, um, I had to go to an Instagram page, Vessel. Anywho, so it's a younger picture of James Byrd Jr. It said James, or he was chained to the back of a pickup truck, was driven by three white men who had pledged their allegiance to hate black people just because. For 3 miles, he was dragged alive until the skin of his body started to make tired like streaks along the Winton County roads of Jasper, Texas, as parts of his body started to rip, dangling to the lumber chain they hooked him to. Eventually, he was decapitated on a drainage pipe sticking out from underneath a ditch. With with all life gone from his body, the three white men continued on speeding down the road until what was left of his body was positioned in front of the black only area of the cemetery. I seen somewhere else where they said they urinated on them and took a boo boo and some other crazy stuff. Sorry. trying to find it. All right, so you're not going Black History Unlocked. It says okay, okay. It says all right. So Black History Unlocked says on that night, the three white men were riding around Dresper. Byrd was walking home after drinking with friends when the driver of the truck, Sean Allen Berry, offered him a ride. At some point overnight, the three men attacked him, spray painted his face, and then used a logging chain to tie him to the rear bumper of the truck. They drove along Huff Creek Road, an isolated path lined thick with pine and sweet gum trees, for approximately 3 miles as Byrd was helplessly flung side to side. His naked body was decapitated, dismembered, discarded, and found in front of a black cemetery just outside Jasper. The, the trio left what body parts remain affixed to the truck at a black cemetery before heading to eat. Law enforcement agents used fingerprints to determine his body. Dennis Rodman covered the funeral. But yeah, all right. So now I'm looking at the pictures that y'all could go on Instagram. It says they beat and urinate on him, tie him by his ankles. Uh, it's just crazy. Just the details. All right. Um, Perpetrator Sean Berry. During the trial of Sean Allen Berry, born February 12, 1975, the prosecution conceded that he was not a white supremacist, but they argued that he was just as responsible for Bird's murder and the other man. Excuse me, as the other man, and suggested that he might have been a serial killer. Barry's attorneys had three black men who knew him testify that he was not a racist. Barry claimed that Brewer and King were almost entirely responsible for the crime. He said he tried to stop them from attacking Byrd until Brewer threatened to do the same to him. Brewer, however, testified that Barry had cut Byrd's throat before he was tied to the truck. The jury decided that minimal evidence supported his claim. Barry was also the only one of the three to show any degree of remorse. As a result, Barry was sentenced to life in prison rather than death. And as of 2020, Barry is living in protective custody at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice's Ramsey unit, and he will first be eligible for parole on June 2038. By that time, he'll be 63 years old. He spends 23 hours per day in a cell measuring 8 by 6 feet, 2.4 by 1.8 meters, with 1 hour for exercise. Barry married Christy Marcantel by proxy. You have were March 13th, 1967 to September 21st, 2011. Who prior to Byrd's murder had served a prison sentence for drug possession and burglary. He was paroled in 1991 after violating his parole conditions. In 1994, Brewer was returned to prison. According to his court testimony, he joined the white supremacist prison gang with King in order to safeguard himself from other inmates. Brewer and King became friends in the Beto Unit prison. A psychiatrist testified that Brewer did not appear repentant. I mean, repentant. Excuse me. For his crimes during the trial, the prosecution labeled him a racist psychopath. Brewer was ultimately convicted and sentenced to death. Brewer what TDCJ number 999327 was on death row at Polanski unit, the Polanski unit, but he was executed in the Huntsville unit on September 21st, 2011. A day before his execution, Brewer expressed no remorse for his crime, as he told KHOU 11 News in Houston. As far as any regrets, no, I have no regrets. No, I'd do it all over again. To tell you the truth, that's just why. Sorry, that's just why your ass is executed. Execution. Brewer ordered a large and expensive meal: two chicken fried steaks with gravy and sliced onions, a triple patty bacon cheeseburger, a cheese omelet with ground beef, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, fried okra with ketchup, 1 pound of barbecue meat with half a loaf of white bread, three fully loaded fajitas. Hopefully, hopefully I pronounced that right, y'all. Anyhow, a meat lover's pizza, 1 pint of Bluebell vanilla ice cream, a slab of peanut butter fudge with crusted peanuts on top, and three root beers. Y'all know good and goddamn well he was about to eat all that, so I don't even know why y'all even consider ordering all that for him. The meal was discarded, prompting State Senator John Whitmire to ask Texas prison officials to end the 87-year-old tradition of giving last meals to condemned inmates. The prison agency's executive director responded by stating that the practice had been terminated effective immediately. Then we have John King. John William Bill King, November 3rd, 1974 to April 24th, 2019, was Barry's longtime friend. He was accused of beating Byrd with a bat and then dragging him behind a pickup truck until he died. King, who prior to the murder had recently been released from a Texas prison, said that he had been repeatedly gang raped in prison by black inmates. So he was found guilty and sentenced to death for his role in Byrd's kidnapping and murder, and was put on death row at the Polanski unit. King had several racist tattoos: a black man hanging from a tree, not Nazi symbols, the words Orion Pride, and a patch for a gang of white supremacist inmates known as the Confederate Knights of America, who prior to the murder had recently been released from a Texas. Oh, I think I already read that. In a jailhouse letter to Brewer that was intercepted by jail officials, King expressed pride in the crime and said that he realized while committing the murder that he might have to die. Regardless of the outcome of this, we have made history, death before dishonor. Sang hell. King wrote, the officer investigating the crime also testified that witnesses said that King had referred to the Turner diaries after beating Byrd. On December 21st, 2018, King's execution by lethal injection was scheduled for April 24th, 2019. On April 22nd, 2019, his appeals to both the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals and the Texas Bar of Pardons and Paroles were denied. He was executed at the Huntsville unit on April 24th, 2019. This is so sad. Numerous aspects of the Byrd murder echo Lynch traditions that were common in the post-Civil War South. These include mutilation or decapitation in revelry, uh, uh, such as a barbecue or a picnic, either during or after a lynching. Byrd's murder was strongly condemned by Jesse Jackson and the Martin Luther King Center as an act of vicious racism. It also focused national attention on the prevalence of white supremacist prison gangs. Three sisters of Byrd were Jehovah's Witnesses, and in a joint statement said having a loved one tortured and lynched produced an unimaginable sense of loss and pain. How does one respond to such a brutal act? Retaliation, hateful speech, or promotion of hate written propaganda never entered our mind. We thought, what would Jesus have done? How would he have responded? The answer is crystal clear. His message would have been one of peace and hope. He created James Byrd Foundation for racial healing after his death. Basketball star Dennis Rodman paid for funeral expenses and gave Bird's family 25,000. Fight promoter Don King gave Bird's children 100,000 to be put towards their educational expenses. On the 25th anniversary of Bird's death, family members reflected in a 2023 interview for Texas Tribune that fundraising for the foundation had become much harder as knowledge of Bird's murder phase. One sister reflected that there was less awareness amongst the public of hatred in the community. People don't want to fund it because they think there's no hate in the world. She was quoted as saying, a reporter visiting Jasper in 2018 noted that several residents denied Bird's death had any relation to racism or hate crimes. Writing for the Pacific Standard magazine, John Savage said, a dozen white residents have told me that racial hatred wasn't the principal motivation of Bird's killers. Most of them say the murder was simply a result of a drug deal gone wrong. King's lawyer made the same argument to the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Of course, they're going to. Of course, they're going to say that. That's how they always see black people, and it's fucked up. It really is. Now they saying that it was a drug deal going wrong. Racist fucking bastards. I can't stand people. I really can. On October 7, 1998, an episode of Law and Order titled DWB Driving While Black referenced the murder within the plot. Instead of three white supremacists, however, the killers were three white New York City police officers. As the plot goes, the officers stop and arrest a black man for no reason and then proceed to drag him to a death after tying him to the car. In 1999, the documentary Journey to a Hate-Free Millennium was released, showcasing three U.S. Uh, three United States hate crimes: the shootings of Columbine High School, the death of a gay student Matthew Shepard, and the murder of Byrd. The same year, the city of Jasper named a local park the James Byrd Jr. Memorial Park in his honor. In 2003, a movie about the crime titled Jasper, Texas was produced and aired on Showtime. The same year, a documentary titled Two Towns of Jasper, made by filmmakers Marco Williams and Whitney Dow, appeared on PBS's POV series. While employed as a radio DJ at station WARW in Washington, D.C., Dog tracked referring to Bird after playing Lauryn Hill's song "Drop That Thing." The, Feb- February, the February 1999 incident proved catastrophic to Trek's radio career. Sorry if I'm pronouncing stuff wrong. Igniting protests from black and white listeners alike. He was from WARW and lost his position as a volunteer deputy sheriff in Falls Church, Virginia. In May 2004, two white teens, Joshua Lee Tolley and John Matthew Foyer, were arrested and charged with criminal mischief for desecrating Byrd's grave with racial slurs and profanities. According to a 2023 report in the Tribune, Byrd's grave has been desecrated on at least one other occasion. As a result of the desecrations, his family had a gated iron railing enclosure placed around it. Some advocacy groups, such as the NAACP National Voters Fund, made an issue for this case during George W. Bush's presidential campaign in 2000. They accused Bush of implicit racism since, as governor of Texas, he opposed hate crime legislation. Also, citing a prior commitment, Bush did not appear at Byrd's funeral because two of the three murderers were sentenced to death and the third murderer was sentenced to life in prison. All three of them were charged with and convicted of capital murder, the highest felony level in Texas. Governor Bush maintained we don't need tougher laws. The 37th Texas legislature passed the James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Act with the signature of Governor Rick Perry, who inherited the balance of Bush's unexpired term. The act became Texas state law in 2021. Sorry, 2001. I'm sorry. I'm over here reading this all wrong. In 2009, the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act expanded the 1969 United States federal hate crime law to exclude crimes. To include crimes which are motivated by a victim's actual or perceived gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. On the 2001 album Pieces of Me by singer-songwriter Lori McKenna, the song is dedicated to Byrd. It condemns his murderers and references their death penalty convictions with the Rush's refrain, I'll be the one in the pink sweater dancing around when you're gone. In 2010, Alabama musician Matthew Mayfield wrote, recorded, and released a song in Bird's honor. The tune, titled Still Alive, is the fourth track on Mayfield's EP You're Not Home. Still Alive clearly related stark bitterness towards racism and equated such hate crimes with genocide. Tell Me Why, featuring Mary J. Blige, mentions Bird on Will Smith's fourth album, Lost and Found. Bird's son Ross recorded a rap album, Undeniable Resurrection, and, and dedicated to his father. Jasper by Confrontation Camp is the fifth track on the album. Objects in the Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear, released in 2000. Guitar Drag by sound artist Christian Marclay is a video and sound installation about the murder of James Byrd, in which the guitar was hooked to the back of the truck and dragged down the road, producing feedback and noise. I heard them say, Ryan Bingham is about Bird's murder in a racially charged climate around Jasper following the crime. 2012. Bird's murder is the subject of Lucille Clifton's poem Jasper, Texas, 1998. The Ghetto Boys track Eye for an Eye from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly refers to Bird's manner of death in his second verse. The story of Bird's murder and that Matthew Shepard are told in the song Trouble the Waters by Big Country. Driving to Damascus, named John Wayne's Dream in his U.S. release. This is a lot. Then it continues to do song tributes or whatever. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just a lot. It just speaks on different songs that speaks on the murder. Um, there's a lot of people that have done tributes. This is a picture of James. Said James was an 11 person and he loved people. Levon Bird Harris said about her brother, so you can't figure out who in the world would get mad enough at James to kill him. James Byrd Jr., second to last one. Second to last on the left plays the trumpet in an old family photo. So is that him in the middle? It says second to last on the left. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Those are the three men that were involved in his death. This is James Byrd Sr. and his granddaughter Renee Mullins react to the sentence of John William King on death. To death on Jasper, Texas. King was convicted for the dragging death of James Byrd Jr. in the summer of 1998. This is James Byrd Sr., that's the father of James Byrd Jr., kneels in prayer during Sunday services at the Greater New Bethel Baptist Church a day following his son's funeral, Sunday, June 14th, 1998, in Jasper, Texas. This is his sisters. This is his gravesite. This is a bench in his honor. Y'all could go get this book by Jamie Byrd Grant, uh, Triumph Over Tragedy. This is pretty much her speaking about her life. This is his daughter. This is I'm guessing Ross is his son. Yeah, Ross is his son. So yeah, this is his son. Well, I don't know if they want they Facebook pages. I'm just trying to find pictures. I don't want to put no personal Facebook pages or nothing out. This is the Bird Foundation of for racial healing. I was trying to get any other pictures of him. So it says remembering James Byrd Sr. So I'm guessing his father passed away in 2020. Okay. All right. So this says happy birthday. All right. So here's some pictures of James Byrd. That's the younger picture of him. That's a picture of him, and I'm guessing a family member. I'm not sure who. This is another picture of him. That's another picture of him. Oh, so that was James. Like I said, I just wanted to show some pictures of him. I'm not trying to show anyone's personal Facebook pages or anything like that. I just wanted to pay homage and keep his memory alive in this video. Big rest in peace shout out to James Byrd Jr. Big rest in peace shout out to James Byrd Sr. Um, my deepest condolences continues to go to his family. Um, y'all please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Give me your thoughts in the comment section about this story, and I'll get back to y'all in the next video.